Hello, welcome. My name's Phil Taylor from bodylanguagematters.com. And today we're going to be looking at the Rebecca Loos reply to the David Beckham documentary on Netflix. And it's her sort of stating why she's not a liar and actually trying to go after the truth. Now, before we get into this is an unbiased opinion. All we'll be looking at is the body language and listening to the words she says and some of the structure around that, the environment that she's in. And we'll try and decipher whether we think this is truthful or not in her behavior as we go through this. I absolutely 100% want you to add comments below to tell me what you think is going on as well. This is just a topic that I'm interested in. I like to analyze people and their non-verbals as well as their verbals as we go through this. So this is going to be an interesting one. The clips have been taken from the Daily Mail interview, and they're a bit jumpy. Now, before we get into this, the first clip you're going to see is part of where she is. I think this is in a home setting, and it gives us an opportunity to take a look at her baseline. And now, if you don't know what a baseline is, it's basically she's been asked a question or a few questions that are unrelated to the topic of cheating, and you can see how she behaves and talks within that context of just answering a simple question, and you'll see a lot of things. I'll point them out as we go ahead anyway. So let's get into the video. I'll just switch over. Okay. So the first thing we notice is the music. Now this is clearly set so it's almost like a soothing sort of sympathetic tone to the music. So already the scene is being set with the music that the editors or the team has chosen for this. So they want sympathy for the idea of that in the music. And if you think about horror movies as well, you'll see that. Okay.
First memories are London. I went to a school called Bassett House. I remember the books we read. So yeah, my childhood memories are of London, the gardens we had at Notting Hill. Very happy memory.
Seems odd that those buzzes are there, Notting Hill. Maybe that is I don't know. Maybe that's the 70s, 80s, potentially. Seems a bit older to me, if you ask me.
Mummy was a hands-on mummy, very sort of Spanishy, cooking lovely meals and good at taking us out to cultural things and museums and excursions. Weekends spent walking in the dunes and
shaking her head, walking in the dunes. Something, just a note to remember as well. But look at the setting. I think this looks like a home setting as well. It's in the corner of a room with some old books. It's off to the right of her as well. It's interesting.
Happy childhood.
And if you go back there as well, you can see
weekends spent walking in the dunes and happy childhood.
I don't know, man. She's like she's pacifying on her hands. I don't know if I can pull this up a little bit. You see her hands there as well. So she's sort of not pacifying. She's regulating on her hands. She's just feeling these as well, because obviously this is a nervous thing for her as well. She's coming out, and obviously she's not been in the press for so many years. Over 20 years, I think by now. So yeah, this could be a bit of a nervous thing for her. Well, it would be, I imagine.
Did love to go out and dance. Loved music. Naughty things like I'd tell my parents I'm going to a friend's to study, and we'd end up sneaking into Pachá.
So naughty things, going out and almost lying to her parents to deceive it. But I think most people did of that sort of era anyway. But notice how she's sitting back in the chair with her arms folded as well. So again, I don't think that's been edited. There's something gone on before that, but that's been edited. Let's carry on.
I go to London, I go to university. It's common knowledge that I'm bisexual. And so one of the things...
She's presuming that it's common knowledge that she's bisexual. I didn't know that. Is it common knowledge? Maybe in her world it is, but not for me. I don't know. Drop some comments below if you thought she was as well.
I loved about London.
And also, what has it got to do with anything?
It was after a few months when I made some friends, I discovered Soho, and I discovered a bar called the Freedom Bar. Wow.
Yeah, she's liking that.
That was just, I just felt at home.
Again, shaking her head as she felt at home. So that's part of her baseline, is when she likes things, she shakes her head from side to side.
I was like, oh my God.
It's almost disbelief.
I felt in a way that I kind of belonged, that London was very...
There's a weird thing here as well, which I've just noted. She's got her. Let's just fix on this. She's got a book, right? Here. Can you see the bottom? There's a book. So she's reading from this, reading from notes. So she's clearly come prepared.
Belonged, that London was very me. I signed up.
There was a simple shoulder shrug there as well. So that's unsure. There was a single shoulder shrug on the left side. Just so right here.
In a way that I kind of belonged, that London was very me. I signed up at a recruitment agency, an international recruitment agency for jobs.
So this has given us a great sort of baseline to her behaviour. She's shifted around from the original position, but now she's sitting there with her arms crossed and one of her legs folded in an L position.
First interview was to be the PA to a tennis agent. And that's how I got into sports.
Okay, definitely edited there. You could see the difference where the book is right now.
Interview was to be the PA to a tennis agent. And that's how I got into sports.
And in her hand.
Departments, big client, David.
Then out of her hand. And then so you can see where it's been edited and chopped in.
Beckham was going to sign a contract with Real Madrid. And I'm sitting down in reception waiting for my
Now she's got a cup in her hand and drinking a cup of coffee.
Colleague because we were going to go out for lunch, and he walked past, looked me up and down, gave me a cheeky smile. I can't remember. It's just like, and I just looked at my colleague and went, "Oh, I'm not a football player." And he was
There was a really, really big eye roll.
like,
it's almost dismissive.
I'm not a football player. And it was a big thing because David Beckham from Manchester United was signing with Real Madrid. So the football team said, "Can you come and help? You're from Madrid. You speak fluent Spanish. I could have been a cab driver in Madrid. That's how well I knew the city, and I speak the language, so I can be really helpful." And he stepped off the plane. This is my first impression of him. This is because the time I saw him in the office doesn't really count. It was like a real life Barbie and Ken, playing up for the press. It's who they are. They're superstars. I wasn't phased by it. It was just, okay, that's them. These are the clients. This is who I'm working for. So I was responsible for looking after Victoria that weekend. David was going to be whisked off to the football stadium to sign the contract.
Yeah, just get on with what were your impressions of them?
Another edit there and straight into the question.
But nice. Yeah.
And she's down on her hands and she's rubbing and pacifying herself. So just keep your eye on that area of her body as well.
No problem. Witty. Big witty.
What did she say? Let's go back.
Yeah, no problem. Witty.
A tongue jut on witty. So a tongue jut is sort of distaste, witty. And we didn't see that in the baseline, so, to like a taste thing.
Big weekend media-wise for them. Worldwide press coverage covering this.
And what were your impressions of David at the time?
Nice guy. Yeah, they were both really nice. I was in charge.
So there was an upwards tone as well. Really nice guy. Just something to bear in mind. A change of the tone of voice. So did she really believe that?
Finding them a home. I got him a Spanish teacher. I got him a Spanish security team. House hunting, school hunting, planning fun weekends when the kids were visiting.
Her illustrators are on point as well. So home hunting, Spanish teacher, but then it breaks again, the edit.
Go safari parks. Yeah, it was very full on when they were all there. There was house hunting for them and something about the house, the pool, the gym.
So she's now animated. She's moved out of her chair and now she's like, getting into the realms of this.
I don't remember what it was, but David said, let's say David said he wanted A, and then I spoke to Victoria and her PA, and Victoria wanted B. The next call is Victoria just wants you to talk directly to her. This is when he's in Asia. And so he starts texting me late at night. David, sorry, I've been given instructions not to talk to you directly. And he texts me back and says, we don't have to tell anyone.
So a purse slips there. We don't have to tell anyone, which you can clearly see right here. And also you'll notice how the tone of her voice goes down or drops. We don't have to tell anyone. She almost whispers it like it's a secret.
He says, we don't have to tell anymore.
And there was a big eye block on there as well, so she closed her eyes.
Tonight we bring you the story of how David Beckham became a global phenomenon.
I'd seen an ad on Netflix. I love Netflix. I love documentaries. I love real life stories. So Thursday morning I get up, on breakfast with the kids, and check my Instagram. I've got a few new 100 followers, and I thought that happens from time to time because old stories get published and then some people start following me. So I didn't think much of it, and I dropped the kids off at school. I went to work. I work as a medical assistant in a medical office. And
she's a medical assistant in the medical office. Why do you need to say that? It's almost like she's saying, I'm now a humble person, I'm a normal person, dropping the kids off and going to work, but offering what she does as a job.
And suddenly the phone rings.
And I guess that's sort of perception management of who she is and what she is now, so you can relate to her.
Unknown number, so I answer, but I'm at work, so I'm like, hello, and it's a Norwegian journalist from Dagbladet.
Yeah, that's quite a complex movement. And she's going through this story. And then, yeah, okay. So I think this is truthful, what she's saying here. She didn't have a clue. If you look at her mouth here, just focusing on that. Did I? Yeah, and there's a lot of downward. I really believe that this actually happened.
I'm at work, please don't call me again, and I hung up, and then the phone started ringing again and again, and then I started realising, something must have been said, but I didn't know what had been said. And it was just.
And then she's got open hand gestures as well, which is really, I mean, you can see it right there, but just to point it out, you can see here and here, open hand gestures. That usually means I've got nothing to hide. And this is me, you know.
It must have been said, but I didn't know what had been said. And it was just been shock the first days and receiving so much hatred.
And then
what did you think when you saw her?
Now she's pacifying really on her hands and ring. This is where she's picking her nails. So she's clearly nervous.
That episode. What was your reaction?
He is making himself a victim, and then he is making.
There's a point here where she leans her head to her left, head tilt to make her. It's either thinking or to make her seem more vulnerable.
Yeah, that episode. What was your reaction?
He is making himself a victim, and he's making me look like the liar. He's making me look like I've made up these horrible stories. I'm the one that's made Victoria suffer. Poor him. He's had nothing to do with this.
Now she's clenching on her clothes here, and I think this. You can see the whites of her knuckles. So this is anger.
So awful. I think it's one thing if you don't want to take responsibility for things at home because of your family and your children, that's absolutely fine. And if he hadn't even mentioned any of that and just said it was a tough time for us and moved on, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, she wouldn't have said anything.
Stories were horrible, but they were true, and he's the one who's responsible for.
Yeah, and she's regulating on her fingers, or illustrating rather on her fingers, so it's consistent with what she's saying.
All of this. He's the one who's responsible for his wife's suffering. He's the one that decides to lie to her to say we don't have to tell my wife. He's made all those choices.
Was there anything particular that he said that?
Okay, now she knows this is a tough question. Part of it's been edited again, but you can see on her fingers she's back to picking her nails.
On that documentary there.
Yes, it was how awful it was to see his wife suffer so much. That bothered me.
Wow.
A very stern look there. Yeah, and contempt on her lips. Oh my God, look at that. Look at her lips. That's where you see it. Real contempt for him. This angers her a lot.
Because he's the one that's caused the suffering.
And a big tongue jut as well.
Because he's the one that's caused the suffering.
See that?
It's his behaviour. It's his lying. This is why I have decided after giving it so many days thought to speak. If I don't speak, if I remain silent, I will be known as the liar, the one who made up.
She has given, I 100% believe that she's given this a lot of thought. This is quite a technical thing, and actually talking about how she's putting her hands and fingers together precisely as she's saying these things. So she has clearly given this a lot of thought.
Stories. And I also have a family, and I also have children, and they also have Google, and they can also watch documentaries. And I want them to know that their mother was brave enough to stand up against them and to stand up for the truth. If he was going to touch on this time and how difficult it was, it would have been.
Okay, so it's back on. It's another edit, and it's back on a book. It's really sort of jumps around this as well. Now the book's back involved in this as well, and she's recounting what she needs to say, so it's clear.
Really nice for him to have said.
I'd imagine that she's had many conversations about this. I'd imagine that there's a lot of people behind her, or not a lot of people, but she's had counselling of some kind around this as well, what she can and can't say to defend herself.
That's not my proudest time. It was a tough time for us. Something like that, just maybe a little bit of acknowledgement. Or no acknowledgement at all, and don't even touch the subject. I'd never received any closure. If somebody had just reached out to me, if he had just called me and said, "I'm so sorry, how can we fix this?" Things would have been so different.
And her hands were down as well. You can see there. Let's just go back over the.
Things would have been so different, but I'm so sorry. How can we fix this?
Look, you can see her hands are down, and she's the book's gone as well, and her legs crossed. But then the edit comes out.
So different, but I was made to look like a liar. I felt like I had to continuously defend myself.
This is heavy.
So we're texting one day. It's getting very dirty, very naughty, and it's fun.
Yeah, she enjoyed that as well. So I think this is the point where she's talking about the conversations that she's been having with David back in the day in 2003, and she's enjoying this.
And suddenly I get a text from the bodyguard, the Spanish bodyguard. "Are you texting David right now?" He texts me, "Stop. He's showing it to his friends and they're all laughing."
Yeah, that's so there was a big increase in blink rate as well, and
Texting David right now.
This is a high stress point for her.
He's showing it to his friends and they're all laughing.
Yeah, and again contempt.
I was very hurt, and that hurt and that pain led me to become more laissez-faire and to not give a shit about keeping this big secret for him when he's treating me like that. I very much accepted the choices that I've made and the mistakes that I've made. I've come to terms with
on her fingers again.
It's like the best lessons I've learned in life. That path, those mistakes, everything I've learned along the way has brought me to where I am today. I am in the most wonderful place.
Shaking her head, and she's happy again. They were talking about right at the very start. So she's happy.
I wouldn't have this life.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there we are. I don't know what you feel or think about that, but for me, it feels like, in my opinion, there's no deception there. She's telling the truth. All the non-verbal cues point to that. I know it's heavily edited. I know there's been chops and changes around that as well. There was a lot of contempt towards David Beckham as well. There was a lot of anger as well, we saw within there as well, but there was a lot of honesty as well. I thought was interesting, and it was a great baseline to start this as well. Like she said, I believe that she hasn't, she's not telling any lies, and that's what happened. And you can check it out yourself and leave some comments below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Point them out to me. What did you see that I didn't see? Like I said, I'm just an enthusiastic body language person. I like to read non-verbal cues of people and analyze different topics as well. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of this, and we'll see you again some other time. Thank you. Goodbye.